Go together.
Yeah.
And we are live. So, welcome to back to Benson and Bunker. Today, I'm joined with the other two-thirds of Guerrilla Publishing, Julio Guerra and J. Adam Farster. So, just to kind of start out, like, how did you guys get started into comics? And then we'll kind of talk about the history of Guerrilla.
All right. Adam, you want to start?
Yeah, Adam, you want to start off?
I'm sorry.
I'll start. Yeah, comics have always kind of been around for me. It was newspaper comics growing up. Comic books themselves weren't really till I was like in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And when I actually like had lawnmower money and like all this stuff, and I could actually buy my own books. And I think I was in my freshman year or sophomore year and of high school, and going on a double date with a buddy of mine and these two girls. And there was a bookstore, there was a Walden Books, and I was like, I'm going to go buy comic books. And like, instead of like being like, oh, I'm on a date with a girl, I was like, I'm on a date with a girl, but I'm gonna go buy comic books too, and bought like Spider-Man books. And like I don't think I ever talked to her after that. But thanks, comics. But yeah, no, I always wanted to draw comics. I always wanted to draw and just be creative and tell stories. And that's I fell in love with the medium. It's one of those things, whether it is newspaper comics or a book, and you pick it up and you just, I don't know, there's just something about it. It's something about holding it and just kind of being in your own world for, I mean, with newspaper strips for 30 seconds and getting a laugh, or following a story daily. It's that serial nature of it that's it's fun. And then doing my own thing, and even in high school putting stuff together and doing comic strips for the school newspaper, in college doing comic strips for the college newspaper, and publishing and getting dumped on from that, and then doing my own thing and kind of meeting you guys all at that same time. Kind of rejuvenated my love for creating comics, and it's been a blast. So yeah, it's one of those things. Once you get hooked, I mean, you're usually hooked for life.
Julio?
My uncle, when he found out my mom was gonna have a boy, he was like, he's gonna like comic books and baseball. And I like comic books and baseball. So my uncle was a fan when he was a kid, reading all the DC. He was a DC guy, but he got into Steranko and Ditko and Stan Lee, reading all that stuff, the stuff that we love and pay hundreds of dollars to try to re-get. He was reading all that stuff, and then he had to stop getting into comics for personal reasons. And then '84, Frank Miller drops Dark Knight, and that's what got him back in, and he fell right back in love with it and was like, hey, this made me happy type deal. And since then I was just into them, and just read them and made my own story. And that's how I was able to read, like learn how to read, was through comics and everything. And so I found like the educational side of it very helpful, even though it was like shunned and everything from back in the day, saying it was juvenile delinquency and stuff like that. But in reality, it helps. So I was able to learn how to read and then start drawing from that. Like I liked the pictures and all that. And at the same time, I was getting into street art. So seeing these two basically bastardized art styles running parallel with each other because of the colors and the art forms and stuff like that, got really into it. And always kind of dabbled in it, but went into more of a fine art and street art aspect. And then had to sit down with a buddy of mine who chewed me out for 4 hours, and basically was like, hey man, don't waste away. Don't give in to our area, which is basically like the level of success in our area is if you work at the steel mill. provide. And he was like, hey, your family doesn't want that for you. Me as a friend doesn't want that for you, I don't want that for you. So he kind of lit it up, and I was kind of pissed off. I was like, I'll show him, and start doing art galleries around the area, putting out goals for myself. I was like, I'm going to do these many shows, this and that, and then start doing like the art fairs. And then at the same time, a local brewery, 18th Street, did their thing, and they were doing drinking draws, and I would occasionally run into Adam, and then band art,
occasionally.
And then I remember looking at the lineup for the first band art fair, and I saw a very badass Batman Joker print. Because what they did was highlight the art and not like our faces or anything. And I saw Adam Batman Joker, and he walked past me, and I was like, hey man, are you selling that? And he goes, no, actually it's a commission. And then he and I like got into like a really deep conversation, and he brought up his love for comics, and we basically said at the same time that we want to do it. And it was like, if you do it, I'll back you. If you do it, I'll back you. And then we met you, and I mean, now we're inseparable type deal.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of came out with our first issue about the same time, if I remember right. I had my first issue of Judges at NWI, and that was when Adam was running the Kickstarter for issue 1 of Humalian.
Okay.
And did you have Super Deadbeat Dad at that point?
Working on it.
You were working on it?
Mm-hmm.
And so we all kind of were doing our first issues about the same time, and for a while there, we kind of just all were doing our own thing. And then we kind of and we all had been doing the submission route.
Me.
Adam never did this. Me and Julio did the submission route.
I did the submission route in 99, 2000, and I submitted and did that stuff, and I still have a pile of rejection letters from every indie label that was around at that time. And it's that I was like, I don't want to do this. And even like submitting to Marvel or DC, like it never really interested me. Stylistically, it's never a match. I mean, I love the characters. It's just not a sandbox that I want to play with or play in. And it's always been tell your own stories, have your own thing. But yeah, no more submissions to publishers. And after that first kind of thing, I'm just like, it's not gonna. I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not gonna do it again.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, we were doing it. I actually got accepted by a couple of publishers and then got screwed over by a couple of publishers. But the whole thing, it just wasn't working out for us, I feel like. And then we kind of just decided to do our own thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was the time. It's funny because I know mine, so I want to hear the other two parts. So it's funny because I say my part all the time, and I'll recap it real quick if you guys don't mind.
Yeah.
It was because obviously, besides you guys being like brothers to me and mentors and inspire me and stuff like that, I'm fans of your guys. Like I love your writing, I love your art and stuff like that. So to see you guys, like we would talk. I always felt like I was between you guys because I would talk to both of you guys at the same time. So I would feel Adam and I would feel you out and just like here, like I'm done. I don't know how much more I got. Like I'm tired of, Miller would tell me like how much he's tired of getting the rejection letters and, getting screwed over by the business so often. And Adam's just like, I don't know if I can still do it. I don't feel creative. And, and I would tell you guys the same thing. And I remember just being pissed off because I was seeing like two amazing talents from the area not getting the recognition they deserve for being like two badass creators. And at the same time, AEW, you and me were going to a bunch of wrestling events and we were seeing Cody Bucks, and they were always talking about going from undeniable, or was it undesirable to being undeniable? And at the same time, History of Comics was airing, and they were talking about like basically what's the one company you like? It starts with an M. They were under
Milestone.
Milestone. So they did Milestone, they did Image. And at the same time, I was falling back in love with Spawn and following Todd McFarlane again. And it just seemed like everything aligned. And I was just like, screw it. Who, and like how you were saying earlier, Adam, like, don't want to play in that sandbox. Who's to tell us what we can and cannot do? We know what we're capable. We know our worth. Why do we have to get approval from these so-called better guys?
Right.
And then I remember presenting it to you guys, and we sat down at a taco joint and had a meeting after a very successful small press expo.
That was the Zine Fest in Michigan City.
The Zine Fest. We were out of our element at Zine Fest.
Yes, we were.
That is for sure. We do not have zines, and so we were like, we got comics.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did sit down, and eventually we all said we're going to do this thing. And yeah, for me it was like, Julio kind of brought it up, and we had gone to that Ring of Honor show where Cody did that, like 20-minute speech about, just doing your own thing and coming together. And it kind of clicked with me around that time too. They were like, let's stop trying to get these gatekeepers approval and just do our thing, especially since, it's hard to do it on your own. But when you have, a support base of other people that are doing it, especially, that we get along,
right.
We aren't just like three business guys that came together to make a business. Like, we're three friends. And so that makes it easier. You know what I mean? At least for me, it makes it easier, and so we can kind of just, get together and, mold our ideas, and nobody gets too crazy or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, nobody gets bent out of shape. That is the good thing about being friends. It's like, listen, we all respect each other. We all respect each other's ideas and opinions. And that's what and we're three different people too. Like we have three different voices. And I mean, it definitely helps. I mean, we have one vision, but three ways to get there. And we're very, like, if we didn't have this comics thing, I don't know how we would have ever necessarily met each other, but like that, I mean, that's kind of how we all met each other, through the Drinking Draws and NWI Comic-Con.
And the lab.
Shout out to Brian Grabinski, and
I toss Adam love for the lab, because that's basically where this started from.
The lab. Oh, such a rocket ship of success that died off so quickly.
It's the challenger of
comics. Yeah. It looked good for about 14 seconds.
Oh man.
But yeah. So Adam, like, what made you? Because you were apprehensive at first.
Absolutely. My thing was, I'm so used to doing everything myself, and that's always been my thing. I've tried to work with other people, and I mean, it always comes back to how much I'm a control freak. It's sad to say that, but how much control do I have over what I'm doing and my life? And do I have to do it? Do I have to be committed? Do I, and I always say no to everything. Everything is like, nope, I'm out. I can't do it. I freak out. And that, I mean, it's just years of living with anxiety too. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew. And, I'm like, if I have a publishing company, now I have to do this, and now I have to do this and this and this. And my head, I get in my head, like, you know what? That's not the role that I necessarily, and it's not like I wasn't a part of it, because I was helping out on the back end. And
you were really doing more work than Julio and I was.
We always was like, yeah, we're a secret partner.
Yeah, because we always refer to another person that, like, not actually a partner, but like, you did the logo, you were laying out like the books and stuff. You were like, I'm like, Adam, my book doesn't work, and you're like, oh, I'll fix it. So you were doing everything that you were doing all the work, and then you're like, hey, maybe I could just be a part of this. You're like, yeah,
it should be official. But it was one of the, it wasn't about me. It's about like the success of the group, and I still kind of feel that way. It's like I want everybody around me to be successful, and I always had this mantra. It's like make cool shit with cool people, and it's like that makes you happy. I work and like working graphic design and taking freelance gigs from things that you don't like doing, and working at companies you don't like being at, and you have to enjoy what you do. You have to enjoy the people you work with and be able to joke and laugh. And I mean, being at shows and being with you guys and just like, not even at shows, just like if we're just out and like grab something to drink and you're like, yeah, these guys, I mean, we have fun. And that I think is like, if it's not fun, it's not worth us continuing to do. And I think that I was like, you know what? I have fun with these guys. This is the group that I think that we can put it together and kind of make this thing work. And I mean, I think we've shown kind of, especially with the last Kickstarter. I mean, we've shown that we can do this, and we have talent, we have friends, and we have other people that we work with, that we can make things that people don't get to see every day.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Right.
I mean, we're not telling superhero stories. We're not telling, I mean, in a roundabout way we might be, but we're not telling traditional,
we're not what people think of when they immediately think of comic books.
Exactly. And
and I have to be honest, because I'm on Facebook a lot and I'm on Kickstarter a lot, and I'm getting so tired of the indie superhero comics. Like, they're everywhere. Everybody's got their superhero, and like, if that's what you're doing, God bless if that's what you want to do. But man, it's like, I want something different. I want something new or weird or and even in my own reading, like, I still read some DC stuff, some Marvel stuff, but I'm really enjoying the stuff that's not necessarily just superheroes, and so it's like, I like some of the weird and the oddball kind of stuff. And we did recently Tales from the Cryptic Closet, which homage to EC Comics and things like that, but there's not a lot of that kind of stuff out right now. Most, like I said, in the indie community, a lot of guys just want to do superhero stuff. And that's fine. Some people are being somewhat successful with that, but to me, that's a really hard market to try to jump in, because first of all, you're competing with DC and Marvel, who've been around, for 100 years almost, and so you're in competition with a product that people already know.
Yep.
And everybody thinks they have a unique take on the superhero genre. But I've noticed a lot of the unique takes are very much similar. I'm like, oh, this is the Boys, or oh, this is Invincible, or oh, this is something somebody's already done. Every once in a while I'll be surprised and there'll be something different. There's been a few books I even talked about it on when I was just doing the Facebook bin for the bunker things. I'm like, this is different. This is a little bit different. But a lot of that stuff, man, it's just like,
but it's their calling card too. It's their way, and it's a mentality that people have. It's like, I want, and it's completely fine. All I want to do with my life is draw Superman, Batman, or Spider-Man, or Wolverine. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to do creatively, and that's fine for those people. But and if you create a book that is essentially that, it's your calling card to Marvel and DC. Mm-hmm. And at some point that runs out. That well runs dry. And you're not going to find long-term success just rehashing Marvel Comics Presents Wolverine number like 17 or whatever. I mean, whatever you're trying to draw influence from. I mean, it's fine to wear your influences, but just to make them your life. I mean, just sit down and, I mean, read something else.
Yeah.
Find something from outside to kind of bring you and make you whole.
And it's funny how like the industry changed, because when comics first came out, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it was more like romance, horror, and crime. And when Marvel DC was bringing out the superhero stuff, it didn't really bite offhand, but they were trying to jump on the horror bandwagon and the romance bandwagon, and they couldn't get over, which was insane until that whole comics code thing happened, and it played out in the favor of the superheroes, not necessarily Superman, because he was getting, flack too, because they were like, the kids get off on seeing a kid being, a guy getting punished for his evil doing and stuff like that. But that kind of flipped the script.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that now to get in, everyone's trying to do the superhero route, as opposed to when you got in, like with Bill Gaines and all those guys, and say like Crumb, the guy who did the like super underground comics, and those guys, you just did it. And like there was a sandbox to play in, so to speak, but it wasn't so small. Like I was watching a thing, they were talking about the Pit and the Witch, the old witch from the Tales books.
Yeah.
And if you see, there's like 4 different artists who did it, but they did their own rendition of the witch. They kept the color scheme the same, but it never looked the same, but you knew who the witch was. So it was like, here's this person that, she does open the books, but have fun. They were very lenient on it, which I thought was really cool. As opposed to now is like, if you go into Marvel or DC, like how you were saying, and you draw Spider-Man, you get like this big book of like, he needs to be wearing this particular blue. The spider needs to be this many inches. He can only have so many webs. He can't have the web under the armpit no more. No web shooters. And, I'm being facetious now, but that's basically what you get. That's how like cookie cutter you have to be. And it kind of cuts down the limitation of imagination, which sucks right now anyway for our youth and for some creators, because we're not expanding how we used to be too much inside, And
well, it's corporate. It's not DC Comics and Marvel Comics anymore. It's Disney and AT&T.
Yeah, AT&T.
You know what I mean? So it's like they're responding to their corporate overlords, and I don't want to get on a bash of Marvel and DC, because I still like some of their stuff, and
they were industry period.
you're talking. I mean, both of those things, like having you want to say a corporate master, that they're worried about their IP. They're worried about where they don't make money off of comics. They're making money off the movies. They're making money on action figures. They're making money on merchandising. They could care less. That is the furthest thing from their mind, is how are we going to sell a comic book?
Right.
The
corporate wants to just have them protected.
Yeah.
Like the IP protected, keep the comics going to keep the IP protected.
Yep.
And then, we'll do movies, TV, merchandise, that kind of stuff, which is kind of sucks also for some of the cooler characters that we don't see as much anymore too.
Right.
So
that's why a lot of they saw it in the 90s. They saw, granted, even the stuff that came out of Image and even Dark Horse, like the early Dark Horse stuff, was guys wanting to leave that and do something that meant more to them. You look at Mignola and Art Adams and John Byrne and those guys, and we wouldn't have Hellboy, we wouldn't have had X-Men, we wouldn't have had these like cool things that kind of happen unless there was some there, you have to push back.
Right.
I think you need everybody needs a villain, or you need something to rebel against.
Yeah.
And
right.
that rebellious attitude is going. I mean, it's punk rock, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
It's early hip hop. You have to have something to fight against it. You wouldn't have had Minor Threat. You wouldn't have had Dead Kennedys. You wouldn't have had all these guys fighting against like this corporate sellout stuff. Like, I mean, it's sellout is a loose term, because I mean, I want to get paid. So
we got bills, man. We got bills.
I mean, a deal to buy the rights to Humalian and make a cartoon. Let's talk. But like that, it's that thing. But now as a creator, we're in a point in history that it's so easy to publish a book, to make your own thing, to go to and release this. I mean, that more people should be doing it, and we should see. I think we should see a growth of indie comic books, but I don't know if we necessarily see it in the way that maybe that we want.
I believe there's a lot of for that. There's a lot of confusion, misunderstanding, and just people being afraid on that end. Because a lot of people still don't, even though we have the tools and know it, they really don't know the process. Even though they love the genre of comic books and stuff like that, they don't know the process, or they're not really involved in the industry like we are. Like, we watch documentaries on our favorite artists, writers, and companies and stuff like that. We're not, like the casual reader doesn't wants to get in. So I don't believe a lot of them have access to people to ask questions about and stuff.
It's a casual Google search, I think, at this point.
Right.
Like,
it is, but and that's why I think all three of us have the same attitude of at conventions. A lot of times we spend a lot of our time talking to people who want to be creators. And that may take away from some sales, but it's important for us to kind of the next generation of creators to bring them along and say, yes, this is possible. This is how you do it. This is how you create. This is how a comic book's made. That kind of stuff. It's important to us to kind of, because we remember being on the other side of the table trying to figure out how to do stuff. So, and there's a lot of guys who keep people away from their booth that they feel like aren't buyers. But we try to not necessarily do that, try to be available, for that, and also available online, to kind of talk to people about the creative process and stuff like that. So speaking of creative stuff, let's talk about some of your creations. Julio, why don't you start off with some of the things you've created?
Okay, I like skipping over Super Debbie Dad because I just like doing that. No, but first thing was Jew Bear, which is just basically a bear of Jewish descent, and I wrote that with two buddies of mine, and we just ran with it. And again, naive to how to do it, we just kind of did it, and I mean, it is what it is. It was rough. I got my stuff out there, and I tried. Looking back at it now, I'm just like, I tried, I failed, I learned, keep going. Then Super Deadbeat Dad came out, and one of the writers from Jew Bear came with me on that one, and Adam helped with that as well. He did colors and kind of helped me with my pacing and stuff like that, and kind of I had my way in by having a consultant on this one. Adam was very helpful on that, and I appreciate it. And so that happened, and it just kind of it happened in laid waste type deal. And then we joked about Lab, but that kind of helped build my favorite thing that I do, and it seems it to go well, is Death Bag. Death Bag, I was just like, Adam threw up an idea for an anthology for all of us, and I spoke to him and Bill, and they kind of helped me develop Deathbag, or not kind of helped me. They helped me develop Deathbag, and that was fun. Like they kind of was like, "What do you like? Why do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Well, I like Adult Swim cartoons. You know, obviously I'm a product of that." And you can see that reflected in Deathbag with the stupid punchlines or the stupid things he does. It's a very dry, dark humor for all ages. It's how we pitch it, which it is.
Yeah.
But you can tell there's fun and stuff behind it. And like I've had other guys help me, you know, write. Like you wrote a story, Miller. Adam wrote a story. And we're talking about like the sandbox thing and the Bible thing for your characters. Adam draws Deathbag completely different than I do. I think the only thing we keep in common is the color scheme.
Right.
You know, but I mean, it looks the same. It still gets it through, and you know that. Vinny wrote it. Anthony Cleveland wrote something. I'm gonna have Ashley Esper draw a story for the next installment. The Three Wise Men Media is gonna write a story. So it's like all of us just having fun with this over the top, humanized, goofy Grim Reaper. And then you and I did, when I say you and I, so Miller and I did Botched, which basically you and me bonded over wrestling right away. So that was our thing. And then we did that. And then we did, what was the lab creation? Or lab?
Nerd Life.
Nerd Life.
Yeah, we did Nerd Life for the anthology for the lab. And we had fun with that because it you know, it was a different side of you that didn't come out until that time. And then, what did we do from there? Then revisited Deathbag and then Tales from the Cryptic Closet, which pushed us all over. It made certain people get out of comfort zones and write differently, and it pushed artists to be a little bit more detailed and things with that. And then we do Tales 2, which pushed us even more. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it on all my stuff, I think.
You also did your sketchbook.
Oh yeah,
Book of Voices.
Yeah, that was fun. And that was just me so that was me shutting people up. Because I remember I like that Adam's in shadow right now, and you can just see his teeth when he smiled on that part. I was being so-called called out, saying I can't draw better than this, than I trace, and all this other stuff. And I was like, no, I'm legit. I went to school for this. Like I'm classically trained and stuff like that, but you know, like I can draw Deathbag super realistic and everything, but I feel like it's going to die down the punchlines, and it's not going to be.
You purposely make him cartoony.
Yeah. Why? Because that's what I'm going for.
That's what the character is. Yeah.
Where Book of Voices was, okay, I'm going to flex this muscle I haven't done in a while. I'm paying homage to two of the best professors I ever had in art, and because they helped me develop this kind of thing. And music's always been like, it's music, wrestling, horror, and comic books are basically who make me up. If you know me, I'm either talking about one of those four things all the time, no matter what. And I want to show diverse, because also you always make fun of me and you go, all you listen to is rah, 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 rah. Which I don't. So I want to show like, hey, you know, it's okay to listen to anything you want to listen to, as long as it speaks in some kind of creative way. And those lyrics, like, it doesn't have to be a visual medium that has to inspire you to be a creative. It can be visual, performing, lyrics. It could be anything that ties into you, that brings something out. Because I know, if I can speak for us, I know a lot of us listen to music or have something going on in the background that we enjoy while we're creating. And so that's what happened, is I want to revisit those songs that either got me out of depression on some things, that made me really happy on some things that made me sad, and some things that kind of like build me to be who I am, and like, hey, for the people, by the people, let's take care of one another in those lyrics. Like MCA, you know, even in their thing, they didn't even know what he was talking about when he was talking about, hey, you know, we got to make sure we take care of our women. And that's the lyrics that I put in there. And then they do the documentary of the Beastie Boys story, and they like heavily go into that part. Like MCA was doing his thing, but to be creative, he was visiting Tibet and wanted to hey, and he was putting it in these lyrics, and no one was like, you know, his buddies didn't even really like, they're like, oh, that's cool. But they didn't know the magnitude it would touch people. Like none of us know the magnitude of our creations. We're just like happy, we're making something, putting it out.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Book of Voices. It was just like, I want to say thank you to all these guys who inspired me to do these things.
Cool. So, Adam, let's talk a little bit about your stuff.
All right. Humalian was the first like successful comic that, I mean, if you want to call it successful, it's successful. Comic that I did, I mean, with backing it on with the funding on Kickstarter and actually getting something out to a broader audience than the 6 people in my little circle of influence. So started with that and the 4 issues that I did of that. And from there went and did Skeleton Boy and the Moon Balloon, which is a children's book. So you kind of flip it from this sci-fi action adventure love letter to the 80s cartoons to this Dr. Seuss-ish rhyme scheme, but with monsters and about being unique and having weird friends and respecting everybody no matter what they believe in and or what they look like even. And I was like, use this whole thing as and use monsters as a way to get some social justice in the world, I guess. And I mean, I think that's always kind of been the case, but then just hanging around with you guys and doing a pinup in actually working on logo design for Botched and doing the Nerd Life logo and the Guerrilla logo, but like everything that you guys have kind of touched on with the Super Deadbeat Dad logo, the things using my graphic design skills to help others kind of put and that I think has been my role. Granted, I have two. I have the kids book and the Humalian series under my belt, but I also did a web series with my buddy Rob Ladiak, who we did before. I think I had met you guys, called Losers, and we did that for about a year and a half, and we did just little stupid joke things, which was my way of doing kind of my daily comic strip and putting things together that way. And everything that I've done have kind of been building to other projects. And while I have we've all got unfinished work or unfinished. I did my next project that I'm working on, Dark Echo, coming soon from Guerrilla Publishing.
Yes.
Well, it's another one of those stories where I took a crack at it 12 years ago, and I tried to do the thing. I didn't think I don't think I had. Again, I didn't have the skill set. I didn't have the tools that I have now to do it correctly. And now I'm being able to put it all together and put that out. That'll be another stepping stone to another project and to another project. And hopefully at some point I can go back and do more Humalian, and I can do these other projects that are sitting there. But I mean, I just want to have fun doing what I'm doing, and doing the short story in the Tales from the Cryptic Closet 2 got me to get a horror story out, and which is a complete homage to Edgar Allan Poe and EC Comics. I mean, it is that old school haunt, and it's what you know, right? We always write what we know. Where internal demons kind of driving you mad, and everybody gets things like that. Humalian's about isolation and being kind of the weirdo kid growing up, and then Skeleton Boy is about having weird friends and about like embracing everybody. And then Dark Echo is, I mean, it's my love letter to Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy stuff, and those things that I grew up with that I mean everybody's into now. Everybody's kind of come out and embracing their nerddom, and Dungeons and Dragons is everywhere right now. But this is my kind of while it shares a lot of stuff, it's my take on it. It's my fantasy world. It's not verbatim the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Monster Manual. These are things that, like, I don't know. I enjoy like this. There's such a strict nature sometimes to Dungeons and Dragons, but like, no, I want to kind of put my spin on it, and this is what it would be if I kind of ran that world. So
yeah, and yours is, I would say, is quite, from what I know about Dungeons and Dragons, quite a bit different. Kind of the world that you've created, which I'm interested to read more of. I want to read Dark Echo, so I hope other people are interested in.
It's Lord of the Rings. It's the Arthurian legend. It's everything that's kind of inspired. I mean, it's Lady Hawk. It's Beastmaster. It's Jason and the Argonauts. I mean, it's those things. It's what was that? The Visionaries cartoon and the action figure toy line from the 80s, when the knights had like the holographic things that would come. Like all that kind of sword and sorcery magic stuff. Little bit of sci-fi thrown in there because, I mean, my life wouldn't be complete without throwing a little bit of sci-fi in it. But
I think that makes it interesting and unique that you threw some sci-fi in with the, kind of knights and wizards and kind of stuff. Kind of, something that's not done quite as much. Yeah,
so. Technical stuff is super fun, and like having your knight designs look like robots.
Yeah,
I don't know, and to me, I'm like, that's what I like to draw, and that's the thing too. I'm going to draw and do things that I want to do, and it's the same thing with you guys. You want to draw because if you don't like doing it, what is the point? If you're not going to be able to draw 4 issues of something, or even a complete full issue, if you get bored with your characters. And right now I have a computer illustration class that I teach, and we're going over sequential storytelling, and we're going over character design, and I'm like, make sure your characters are enjoyable for you to draw, because if you get bored doing it, you're going to give up on the project. And you get all these variations, but then you're like, oh, I'm going to restart because I don't like it. Like I told you when we started the project, this was going to happen.
Yeah.
And Adam and I teamed up to create Hugo. Too.
To create what?
Hugo Creatura. He is kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde character. He's in Tales from the Cryptic Closet 2. Which you have this scientist who was trying to cure his deformity, which now allows him to turn into a monster, or not turn into a monster, depending. But he is now trying to help other people who are monsters or who have kind of the same kind of afflictions. And it was a kind of fun write. It is kind of, I don't know, it's me doing Hellboy in a roundabout way, but also, I mean, the Hulk story and the Jekyll and Hyde thing, and I mean, again, every story's been redone. How do you take the things that you love and and put them together in a way and tell something that's enjoyable. Yes, you can see story beats coming from a mile away, but what makes you want to turn to the next page or pick up the next issue?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I had a person, because my first book was Judges, and I took a lot of my theology background, which is what I went to school for, and put it in there. And a guy was like, I feel like I've heard this story, similar story somewhere before. And I'm like, yeah, it's in the Bible, man. Sorry. Like, but it's, but yeah, I mean, like, and kind of taking some of that stuff in from, all my, religious studies and stuff like that, and bringing that into a modern, tale for my first book. That was a lot of fun. And then after that, I did Botched with Julio, which was like the most fun from like a wrestling aspect, because like normally when I'm doing writing, like I'm looking up all these reference points, and Julio's like, you really don't need to do that. Like, I know when you're talking about Macho Man getting bit by the snake, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, I don't need to like find a YouTube clip to show me what you're talking about. And then doing Nerd Life, and then Kanisha was a story, that I wrote because I was mad. And, like seeing all the police brutality stuff, especially living in a place like Guerra, you see it a lot. And then Gunwork was a story that was my most recent book that I wrote way before Kanisha. It just took a while to come out. But yeah, and so then doing the tales from the Cryptic Closet stuff was really a stretch for me, because I'm not a big horror guy, you know what I mean? And so kind of stretching that, that creative muscle a little bit to try and figure that stuff out. And then now enjoying to write horror more, even to the point where I'm pretty sure I have my story done for 3, actually. So, which there will be a Tales from the Cryptic Closet 3. Also, just to update anybody who's wondering, books will be coming
soon.
Probably, I mean, they will definitely be coming before the end of the year.
Oh yeah, way before
the end.
We're looking November. To me, with everything that's going on with COVID, to only be a month late,
it's not bad.
It's not that bad. We said October. It's probably going to be November. It's not that bad. Which kind of brings me to our next thing. Like, what do you see as the future for Guerrilla and just comics in general in the time of COVID, with shows closed down? Because that for us was a big way to get out.
Yeah.
Like at C2E2, we had probably this past whenever C2E2 was. Was it this year? Yes, it was. It was like the last show before COVID hit, and we had a great show, and we felt like we had some real momentum, and then COVID hit, and yeah. So what do you guys see as the future for, as in comics? Hopefully at some point shows open back up, but
well, if we could comment on C2E2, that was like a momentous thing, because like all 3 of us, we've been doing shows, and Miller and you and I became closer because you and I travel together.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like Adam will hear it was just like, I don't know, man, we keep losing money, like, and then you and I will, get frustrated, not with each other, but because of what's going on, and we're like, what are we doing wrong? And we would consult Adam, and it was just like, what the hell happened? It's just like, we have this stuff, we know people want it, and like, what are we doing? And we were strategizing, and C2E2 happens, and I know, like, me personally, I was kind of like on the fence, because I kind of didn't want to do it this year, and I was just burnt out, because again, it goes back to why Guerrilla started. I was tired of seeing failure for amazing stuff that we do, and I'm not like blowing smoke, but I mean, I'm really proud of what we become and what we do. So it sucks, And then C2E2 hits, and Adam's with us. It's our first show with the 3 of us, and all gears are running, and I'm just like, yeah, dude, this is what it was supposed to be. This is always what it was supposed to be, and we're doing good. And I think all three of us pretty much do well as a company overall. We signed Ashley Esper as Ralph's. We're able to put that in front of new eyes, which was another huge win for us personally. I think as a company and for her. And that's another thing that I'm going to go into. But I was like, the rest of the year is going to be amazing because we know what we're doing right. We hit like, and then the end of the day we talked. And what do we do right? What do we do wrong? We kept going, and that's what we did with Tales 1 and 2, and that becomes our most successful book to date. Is because we actually sat there and figured things out. Not saying that we didn't before, but it was like we're coming into our own. Yeah, and then COVID happens, and I'm just like, damn. But the good thing is, moving forward for us as a company is we are getting recognized. People are seeing us because we're still very active in the community, even though we're not there physically. Like Miller, you still go to creative. We still talk to the shops. We still like do things. We still talk. Adam's breeding the whole new generation by teaching and giving them insight on that. So we're still very active. We still have people asking us for advice and stuff. And I'm not tooting our horns. It's just Miller put us out there to be advocates because that's what we want to do. That's what the lab was founded on. That's what Guerrilla's founded on, is like how you said, we sometimes still are the guys on the other side on the table. We still go and talk to other creators, either they're independent or mainstream. We still pick their brains, and we're doing both sides, which is amazing. It's like a dream come true to me, at least. So the thing now is we're bringing friends along.
Yeah.
And like I said, we mentioned Ashley Esper with, the Ralphs. Tales 1 and 2, we're bringing people who've always wanted to write for comics or wanted to make a comic, and we gave them that opportunity. I'm not saying we gave it to them, but that door of opportunity opened up for them to come join us on this ride. And now they're starting to expand and do other things and figure things out. And because we're doing that, our name is moving on because more people are like, yeah, I'm working with Guerrilla Publishing. Well, who's that? And we haven't officially announced it, but we have another guy who did work in the industry, with I would say like somewhat of a major company. Who got set up.
Recognizable IP.
Yeah. And, the industry did what it did, and now we got him with his own IP. For the very first time, this guy is creating his own book. He's outside the sandbox and doing his thing. We have, I'm super excited for Dark Echo. We have Tales 3 coming, and we formatted Tales 3 when Tales 1 came out.
Yeah.
So it's like, we got that. And then we have the next installment of Death Bag, like I mentioned earlier, with more people coming on who never worked with, who have worked with us, and then someone who hasn't worked with us. Like I always wanted to work with Three Wise Men. Now we're doing that. And then we're starting to expand with sketchbooks. Adam talked about the Dark Echo sketchbook. I'm going to do a pro wrestling concept sketchbook, which brings in stuff that we've done for Botch. So more of a behind the scene, and another book that I worked on with another company. Since I own the rights to the art, I'm going to bring some of the concept sketches to that. So it's like you can see the behind the scenes stuff. You get to see finished products. We have I want to say Ralph's 3 or Volume 3 is going to come out. We got the other secret project coming out, Tales 3, Dark Echo. I know you've been working on stuff, Miller, that is in the wheelhouse at the moment that we're going to try to figure out how to solidify and stuff. I'm pushing you to do another Nerd Life because I really enjoy working on that. So, and then possibly a Hugo book, possibly on that. So it's like now we're really hitting. I think we're fully getting into gear, moving along, as opposed we're just like, let's bring these 3 IPs together. Let's bring Judges, Humalian, and Deathbag in. And now we're like opening a talent pool. Like we're starting to get a bullpen and working, bouncing off ideas with other people and introducing people with other people because we got like Matthew Skillern, who's been doing stuff by himself, and we got him in the book. We got
Othell
Flowers, who's been making a name for himself solo doing pinups. And when Adam and I talked to him, he was like, man, I want to do sequentials. He did the amazing cover on Gunwork, so we're able to feed him into that and then bring him in. And then you teamed up with him for Carney's 2 for Tales, and that looks amazing. So we're trying to open up these things, but we're also not like, hey, we're Guerrilla Publishing, want to work with us, type deal.
Yeah,
it's cool, and it comes back to that mentality that Adam was speaking about, like making cool stuff with cool people, and that's what we're doing. I would say for the three of us, we're not one of those like I'm going to the top and I'm sitting there. We're like, no, we're taking those we believe in, those who work hard with us. We're taking everybody with us. So I'm really excited for what's going on. And we are trying to figure out things with COVID times. Like we're trying to figure out like the virtual con situation. We're trying to figure out how to get the books into the stores and figure out how to go into the stores and do signings, with CDC procedures. So we are, and that's the good thing about us being friends, is I talk to both of you guys every day. So we're always talking, always brainstorming. It might not always like, oh, hey, Miller, Adam said X, Y, and Z, but there's always an open form of communication between us, which I don't think a lot of companies do, because they're there and they're doing a job. Where this is kind of like our second full-time jobs, but we're having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And we're talking, and I think it's not only us being creative, it's building the bond between the three of us stronger. Because there is times where I'm sure Adam's frustrated with me or you're frustrated with me and vice versa, but we work it through. Get out. You're so modest. But we're talking it and we're figuring it out. And we're, there's situations we try to figure out together, and, someone's the voice of reason or all three of us aren't. And we just we all know, like, hey, bring it back a little bit, and then we come back, regroup, and we tackle what we need to tackle. So yeah, I'm excited. We're going to figure it out. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. There's no reason anyone, not only us, anyone should stop creating. Right now is the perfect time to create, because, unfortunately some people are laid off and, things of that nature. And so this is the time, like, you have an open window, and some of us who are still at work and want this time, we kind of wish, like, I wish I didn't have to go to my 9 to 5 so I can work all day. And those are people who are laid off, unfortunately, right now, who can do this stuff. I mean, us as a society, we're too much, we feed into the negative right away, and was like, oh, I'm just, I can't go to work. You can pay your bills. You can make your hobby your job. Granted, it's going to be a very, very slow burn.
Yeah.
But it's possible. So, like, just, there's no reason for anyone to stop, and that includes us. And I see this as nothing but a window of opportunity for us to work with some amazing people and have some people see some great stuff to get their mind off the negativity at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, just to kind of piggyback on that, Guerrilla's gonna keep doing its thing, and during the pandemic, without a pandemic, cons or not, we're three guys who want to we want to be a part of this. We have to tell stories. We have to make art. And success, again, people measure success by financial gain, I think sometimes. The biggest success is the three of us get to work together and kind of collaborate and put things out there. And you look at what just 3 books by you, Ben. You've got Judges, Gunwork, Kanisha. Right there are 3 individual books that are so different from each other that you wouldn't an everyday. I mean, even an indie publisher isn't going to put out books that are that different from each other.
Right.
They have their own personality that they have to present. We're open. We're these guys, we only make horror books. We're these guys, we only make cartoon books. We're these. It's like, no, it's. And I think that was one of the biggest successes at C2E2 was somebody could come to our booth, the Guerrilla Publishing booth, and go, oh, I can get this for my kid. I can get this for me. I can get this for my nephew. I can get this. I could get something for somebody, regardless of age, demo. Like, we're not trying to hit the target market.
Yeah.
We're trying to tell the stories that we want to tell, and without the constraints of an industry telling us yes or no. And I think moving forward with conventions, if and when we get back to a safe zone and after a workable, usable vaccine for the general population happens, I think when we get there and we have even more stuff and even more diversity within our lineup. I mean, you're going to come there and you're going to be amazed by what you see. Like, all ages, adult, like not adult, like strict,
not like, yeah, but like
not that type of adult, but something for adults. Not everything has to be specifically marketed for men 18 to 24. And like, no, we're not looking at those demos. We're looking at, okay, I'm into this, you're into this, you're into this. Let's just make this thing and see what happens. And
yeah,
usually,
I mean, like, for me, it's always been about the story I want to tell. And the next book that I've been working on is like the polar opposite of like Kanisha and stuff like that I've been working on, and so it's, it's nothing like that, but it's cool that I can just tell the stories that I want to tell.
Yeah.
Rather than feeling like, okay, well, now I'm in this lane and this is my lane and I have to stay in this lane, because if I go outside of it, my publisher is going to be unhappy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of where, and maybe some people are like, well, you should focus on one type of story. I don't know. Maybe that would be better for me, but that's just not how my brain works. You know what I mean? Like, I want to tell different kinds of stories.
I think your fans want that too. I think the people who have surrounded themselves or who enjoy the books with the Guerrilla logo on them know that they don't know what to expect. They don't know whether or not your next book is going to be a complete 180 from Kanisha. They don't know if something is going to come out and it's going to be full watercolor pages, or like you know what I mean? They don't know if that's something that I mean, not to say that I'm doing full watercolor pages on anything, because I mean, as much as I would love to, I'll be dead before that book's done. There are things that, yeah, I mean, we have the tools, we've got the talent. It's Miller time, to quote the Ghostbusters. But yeah, I mean, we have the team. We have people who support us as much as we support them, that we can pull from, and I think a lot of those people know that it is an open door to publish, and because either A, we've told that, hey, you put something out, we'll pick it up. And again, it goes back to that punk rock thing. It's like, you record an album, I'll put it on my label, I'll release it. And it's like, I just want to see people make stuff that A, they're passionate about, and B, that I think super cool. And I hope that I mean, I already know that people are taking notice, but it continues to grow, that we're just going to keep doing our thing and trying to kind of like push the expectations in different directions.
Yeah. And the cool thing is that we, like you were saying, it's not only age based, but it's diversified through
genre.
You won't see the same type of book from any of us in that lineup. Also, racial and religious beliefs and all that is all across the board. Like Judges is the perfect example of what Guerrilla, I believe, is, because you have different backgrounds, different colors, different ethnicities, and religions all in that book, spread out across to say we need all to focus on one thing. And that's basically what we do. Like the new tales, man, there's an all like John Parrish worked with us, who's another guy who's been making a name for himself and came and did something with us. We have an like all black story in Tales. It's really cool. So that's another thing, is not only do we have like educators and regular comic book goers and stuff like that, we have basically all walks of human life coming to the book, because it's no longer Superman. We're our stories are diverse, just like everyone else is. And that's the cool thing about this. We're very open. We don't limit. We don't care who you are, what you've done, what you believe in, anything like that. You make cool stuff, we believe in you. We're gonna run with you. Which is very rare, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we're over an hour now.
Wow.
So probably
another hour if we wanted.
Yeah,
we probably could. But I don't want to give anybody fatigue that's trying to watch the whole video.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you guys kind of wanted to say before we close this thing out?
No, just like Miller says, if you ever have questions or anything, all three of us are very open. You can reach us through the Guerrilla Publishing group page on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We all kind of integrate and all that. We all check the email collectively. We all check the social media stuff collectively. So if you have any questions, feel more than welcome to hit us up. Ask us questions, even if you want to talk about certain things, kind of guide you. I believe we're more than a publishing company. We're more than that.
We're your uncle next door. No.
Yes. But yeah, we want to help all those, because some of us weren't fortunate to have people to ask questions to. We just did it, and either we fell on our faces and got up and kept going, and we want to open doors and opportunities for others. And also,
got up, I cry in the shower every day.
Oh man, and watch our stuff, because we make announcements on the whim.
Yeah, so we're like, hey, we're doing this next month. Wait, what?
Well, I mean, I did talk to you guys about the next installment of Death Bag. That's kind of been in the works. I wanted to wait till Halloween, but I was too excited to announce it and stuff like that, because I found out some kids dressed up as Grim Reapers this year because they were fans of Death Bag. So I was just like, let's just put it out there, and whatnot. Let's just say that he's coming back, because he needs to come back for a little bit.
And buy our merch. We have merch. We have stuff for sale. If you like our books, buy our stuff. Let us buy a 6-pack of beer. But put some money in our pockets. But we do. We have t-shirts. You can go to guerrillapublishinggroup.com, and you can buy our books. You can buy all of our stuff. Hopefully when cons come back, you will be able to see where we're going to be, without the use of global positioning systems. And we want to be as open with the fans as possible, or with anybody really. I mean, if you're just Bob and you're sitting there, you're like, oh, how do I do this? Like, yeah, well, I mean, we'll definitely help you out, point you in the right direction. But yeah, follow us all on social media, follow us everywhere. And hopefully this has been somewhat educational.
Yeah. We got a lot of stuff coming out.
Yeah.
2 years. So yeah, stuff we hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah. So keep an eye on all the Guerrilla Publishing social medias, Guerrilla_pub on Twitter, Guerrilla Publishing on on Instagram. You can also follow these guys individually. I don't remember. I know Julio's is Arte de Guerra and Adam's is
Adam Farster on everything.
Adam Farster on everything. So as always, keep reading indie comics and support your local comic book store. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Go Team Guerrilla.